theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly, without an apology. Gotta give doxology to God hollow, because this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Well, grace and peace, guys. Welcome to another episode of All Things Theology. I am your host, Kdub, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm actually going to be playing something that I hope will encourage you. I said in my last video that I want to encourage you. I know oftentimes we bring about the gloom and the doom, all the evil that's going on in the world, but I want to be of some cheer. As many of you know, critical race theory is really going on in universities. It's going on in the schoolings, and there's many parents. You might have seen videos such as this that I'm going to just play because I think they do a better job of explaining than me about the wickedness of critical race theory. A lot of parents are standing out against this. A lot of black parents, which I'm very encouraged to know that's happening, because oftentimes you look on the media and you're like, wow, it's just everybody's affirming this stuff and it's being just fully accepted into the universities and things like that. But that's not the case. That's not the case. A lot of people are rejecting this because a lot of people see it as dangerous. A lot of people see it as dangerous. And I hope that you do too. I hope that you are not just accepting this. And so before I play them, let me share why critical race theory is dangerous. Just a little snippet, and I'll let them take over, I promise. Critical race theory is dangerous because it starts with racist assumptions that black people are inferior to whites. It starts with racist assumptions that white people are white supremacists and racist, and assumed racism, things like that. That white people are responsible for the sins of their ancestors, maybe what their ancestors, because not every white person had slaves, and so it starts with those negative assumptions. And so I think those are dangerous reasons why not to affirm things like critical race theory. As a black man, I'm not oppressed. I think the worst thing you can do is tell someone they're oppressed when they're not. It's a lot of things that I was told kind of growing up. It's like the white man ain't gonna let you succeed in this world. Kind of reminds me of that kind of ideology, just kind of more progressive. And so I would never teach my son or daughter that, or another black person. Hey, thankfully we are in a system in America where generally, if you want to, be successful, you can do it. And those persons need to be taught the right tools, and I think we should celebrate that is the case for now. And so yeah, let me play these respected gentlemen and ladies, and hopefully it encourages you.
Instead, they're using it as their own agenda to indoctrinate the kids to hate each other. And whether you believe that to be true or not, the reality is that's what's happening. Critical race theory is teaching that white people are bad. That's not true. That would teach my daughter that her mother is evil. You already have an educator within your staff that has pulled my daughter aside and said, well, you're a minority, so you know better than to engage in certain things.
Wow.
Whoa. When I was brought to the school's attention, nothing happened to the educator. Instead, my daughter was brought in, and she was ridiculed. So my question is now, with critical race theory being brought in, what is your criteria to educate the educators? And who are you to educate my children, or any of our children, in life issues? That's our job.
Yes.
Your job is to teach them math and science. Our job is to teach them about life. I believe racial issues and tensions across the U.S. are nowhere near what they used to be decades ago. Do we have a long way to go? Sure. Do we still have individuals out there that need to be taught? Absolutely. But I believe the people here don't look at me as a black man. They look at me as a man standing in front of you, addressing the issue that we all are very passionate about.
My name is Fallon Clark, and I am representing Blessed Tennessee. I'm just going to hop right in. So, CRT, for such a complex, controversial topic, I have a very simple question. Why? What is the purpose? What does it solve? What does it actually teach? Imagine two childhood friends, Jenny and Sharon. They've been friends since they were 2 years old, sharing everything, birthdays, sleepovers, and a number of firsts. They grow up and enter the public school system where CRT is being taught. Jenny is reminded she's white and learns about the atrocities committed to maintain her white privilege. And Sharon is reminded she's black and every shortcoming and challenge she faces is because of Jenny's white privilege. Tensions rise, hostility creeps in, and just like that, the friendship is over. Now, perhaps my example is a little extreme, but not too far-fetched. It actually sounds familiar. Children don't see race until you and I show it to them. So I can tell you what CRT teaches. Critical race theory does nothing but perpetuate the same narrative. It plants the same seed of divisiveness. So why do you want to keep telling the same distorted and divisive story, and especially to our children in the form of education? I ask again, why? Does it help our lagging test scores? Does it equip our children with the tools needed to enter the real world? And by real world, I mean workforce and making a better living, financial literacy, and proper decision making. Does it teach our children to value one another regardless of skin color? Does it teach our children to take pride in our country, a country where a man can be a slave, come from nothing, yet give birth to a generation of children that have everything? I remember conversing amongst a group of black friends, and we all reflected on our own childhood and how black history was a small section in a history book comprised of only slavery, Jim Crow laws, and civil rights. Slavery ended in 1865. 146 years worth of information since then, and yet it's filled with nothing but slavery, trauma, inferiority, and that's all the history anyone ever shoves in front of us. Again, why? What is the purpose? CRT is not an accurate account of black history or American history for that matter, and it is imperative we do not allow it to pass as such. I'm sure everyone here is aware of the 2018 and 2019 state report card. That's the only one I could find available online. Less than 33% of Hamilton County students were found to read at grade level. When critical race theory is mentioned, the average individual cannot define it, and our children most certainly cannot define, let alone comprehend its complexities. I value teachers tremendously. My own father is an educator, but teachers are teachers, and they do not, and nor does anyone on the board replace the parents. Many of you may be thinking, CRT is banned in the state of Tennessee. This is not a problem in the Hamilton County School District. Well, I do have with me an assignment given to my son directly following the banning of CRT in our state. He was provided with the banning article with a writing prompt, "What is the importance of CRT in the public school system?" This is a problem, and I would like it noted. The focus should be our core subjects that are not excelling in language arts, math, science, and social studies, with the addition of trades, work readiness, and financial literacy. And let's be clear, the fact we are not excelling in these subjects has nothing to do with race. My son is in the gifted program. He has a 4.0. He scored a 25 on the ACT as a sophomore with absolutely no prep. That leads me to the importance of school choice, and as highlighted in the HCDE mission statement, the environment of our schools, and how all of this correlates with critical race theory. I grew up in Malin, Tennessee, graduated from Malin High School. At the time I attended, blacks made up 15% of the school population. Whites were dominant. As I reflect on my experience, not once did I feel inferior, as CRT suggests. Not once was I oppressed. The bar and expectations that were set at the time were for all students, regardless of race. I left the public school system and my family knowing I could accomplish anything, and my skin color was the very least of my concern. Fast forward to having a child who attended Orchard Knott Middle and currently attends Brainerd High School. In both instances, he has been stereotyped, bar lowered, viewed as being at a disadvantage, and even labeled with phrases like, "he's not like the rest of them," by an actual teacher. CRT would do nothing but reinforce this culture of inferiority and further alienate our black children. We must not teach black children that any challenge or burden that they may face comes from white people. We must not teach white children that they are the cause of the plight in black America. We must teach all children, regardless of color, you are the writer of your own life, and any system set in place that threatens your dignity and freedom, you have the power to eliminate, one voice and one vote at a time. I urge you not to let CRT into our schools, stand firm on the Tennessee banning of CRT, and hold every single educator accountable who has the audacity to take matters into their own hands. Thank you.
In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now I have a dream that we will implement love, not hate, or supporting another Jim Crow's agenda. CRT is not an honest dialogue. It is a tactic that was used by Hitler and the Ku Klux Klan on slavery very many years ago to dumb down my ancestors so we could not think for. I had to come down here today to tell you to your face that we are coming together and we are strong. This will not be the last. Greet and meet respectfully.
I am the direct descendant of the North American slave trade. On my mother's side, my ancestors were enslaved in Alabama. On my father's side, we were enslaved in Texas. I am not oppressed. I'm not oppressed, and I'm not a victim. I'm neither oppressed nor a victim. I travel all across this country of ours, and I check into hotels, and I fly commercially, and I walk into retail establishments, and I order food in restaurants. I go wherever I want, whenever I want. I am treated with kindness, dignity, and respect, literally from coast to coast. I have 3 children. They are not oppressed either, although they are victims. I've taught my children they are victims of 3 things: their own ignorance, their own laziness, and their own poor decision making. That is all. My children, we are not victims of America. We are not victims of some unseen 190-year-old force that kind of floats around in the ether. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is taking our nation in the wrong direction. Racism in America would by and large be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support. And sadly, very sadly, one of those institutions is the American education system. I can think of nothing more damaging to a society than to tell a baby born today that she has grievances against another baby born today simply because of what their ancestors may have done 2 centuries ago. There is simply no point in doing that to our children, and putting critical race theory into our classrooms in part does that. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is not combating racism, it's fanning the flames of what little embers are left. I encourage you to support this resolution. Let racism die the death it deserves.
How to dislike each other. That's pretty much what it's going to, that's pretty much, I don't care what you say, it's pretty much what it's going to all come down to. You're going to deliberately teach kids, this white kid right here got it better than you because he white? You're going to purposely tell a white kid, oh, the black people are all down and suppressed. How do I have 2 medical degrees if I'm sitting here oppressed? How did I get, first of all, time up, because I only got 5 minutes now, 5 minutes. 2 medical degrees, no mom, no dad in the house, worked my way through college, sat there and hustled my butt off to get through college. You gonna tell me somebody that looked like all y'all white folks kept me from doing that? Are you serious? Not one white person ever came to me and say, well, son, you're never going to be able to get nowhere because you know the black people. But guess what? What's sickening about this whole thing is what y'all doing right now is already something I do in my community right now to speak out against stuff, because black folks are getting told by other black folks, oh, you know you ain't going to be able to do nothing out there in the world because them white folks ain't going to let you get no, oh, you know you're not going to be able to do it here because you know, the white man going to keep you down. Well, how did I get where I am right now?
Wow. So, guys, I hope you were encouraged by that. I sure was, knowing that there are many parents, many black parents, many black men, many black women who are saying no to this. I do not want my child being propagated, being taught a racist ideology. I brought him here, her here, for math, science, English, and things like that. Not this critical race theory, not this social science. That's fine if you believe that, but don't be teaching my child that stuff. You know, that's where it gets dangerous. And so, hey guys, hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully you learned something here. Hopefully, if you are being, your child is being taught things like this, critical race theory, that you are, I would encourage you to get them out of the school system. Find a no school system. My personal opinion is that homeschooling. There's been a rise in homeschooling. I think COVID definitely produced that, but I think stuff like this has also contributed to it as well, where parents are like, no, I am tired of it. I will quit my job and one of us will work so that our child is actually taught things. You know, there was a professor that was said that, you know, who cares if our, child, who cares if your children can know mathematics, things like 2 plus 2, basic algebra, but the things they really need to be knowing is things like rioting, the difference between rioting and protest. So that lets you know a little something about the education system in many schools and universities. You know, basic math, logic, how to, how to think properly in categories is not really something that's being taught and emphasized, but rather it's things like this. It's a system meant to divide. It can never bring unification because the system won't allow it to. It assumes that there always must be. Because guess what? If there's a disparity, that means there's a racism going on. And so it'll always find racism everywhere, under every rock, and every tree, leaf, and everything like that. So, but I hope you were encouraged by this video. Thankful for the parents who are standing up against this. If you are a parent, please speak out at things like this, like at your teacher conferences and things like that. So like these men and bold women and bold men and women did. Please speak out. We need more of this. We need to see more examples of this because it's being hidden. Your voice is being shunned. It's being silenced. That's why we need more people to speak out like this. So please continue to do so. Until the next time, guys, grace and peace.